Hello to all our amazing viewers. Where are you watching from? Write in the comments. And now let's dive into the story. My phone lit up at 2:38 a.m. I was half delirious with fever, soaked through the sheets, skin burning and then freezing, throat shredded like I'd swallowed broken glass. The vibration dragged me out of a nightmare and dropped me straight into something worse. "Carly," a flat, emotionless voice said before I could even clear my throat. "It's Maureen. We're letting you go, effective immediately." I tried to answer, but all that came out was a wet, ugly cough that rattled my chest. I was 3 days deep into the kind of flu that turns your body into enemy territory, where every breath feels negotiated. "I'm documenting this now," she continued without pause. "Due to inconsistent performance and repeated failure to meet deadlines, we've decided to terminate your employment. HR will follow up." She didn't ask if I was okay, didn't acknowledge the 70-hour weeks, the weekends, the nights I slept under my desk. She didn't slow down or soften a single word, just plowed forward like she was placing a lunch order. I pushed myself upright, the room spinning slightly, sweat dripping down my spine. My chest felt like it was on fire. When I finally spoke, my voice was hoarse, barely audible. Okay, that was it. No panic, no pleading, no disbelief, just okay. The line went quiet. Static hissed faintly. "Okay," she repeated, sharper this time. I didn't respond. I just let the silence stretch while I coughed into my elbow. Then her tone shifted. "Are you threatening me?" That's when I laughed. It was dry and rough, but it was real. "You know what? Never mind," I rasped. "Have a good night, Maureen." Then I ended the call. I sat there in the dark, staring at the glow of my phone, heart hammering beneath damp blankets. My dog, Toby, lifted his head from the foot of the bed and whimpered softly. She thought she'd ended something, thought that call was the final word. What she didn't know, what made me smile even while my body felt wrecked, was that everything she'd said, every accusation, every justification, I had written myself. I'd fed it to her line by line over months. Quick note, before we get deeper, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country below. We'd love to know. Maureen had just read from a script I practically wrapped in a bow for her, and by doing it over the phone, without HR or legal present, she stepped exactly where I needed her to. The trap was set. I took a slow sip of water, pulled the blanket back over my face, and let myself sink into the mattress. I needed one more night of rest. Tomorrow, she'd wake up to a different reality, and I wouldn't need to lift a finger. That call didn't come out of nowhere. 3 years earlier, she'd recruited me personally. Maureen had this razor-sharp polish, hair always perfect, voice clipped and efficient, like she was perpetually late to something more important. When she offered me the role, I was stunned. Me, a 31-year-old designer from a mid-tier Milwaukee firm. "You're wasted where you are," she said. "We need someone who sees differently." And I did. I didn't just design buildings, I listened for them. I searched for the heartbeat in spaces, the corners that held stories, the lines that made people feel something without knowing why. She acted like that mattered. In the beginning, it actually did. She gave me room, let me lead projects, praised my instincts behind closed doors. "Don't over-polish," she told me. "Keep the edge. That's what makes you valuable." Then came North Valley, an abandoned post office and the surrounding block, forgotten for decades. City Council wanted it reborn. Maureen handed it to me directly. "Make them care again," she said. "Make it human." I threw myself into it. I pulled textures from original brick, folded neighborhood history into glass and light. I spent 6 weeks inside that freezing structure, sketching, redesigning, arguing with inspectors, digging up blueprints from the 1950s. I lived inside that project. The pitch landed hard. Press loved it. Clients applauded. Strangers stopped me in the hallway. Then came the gala. Rooftop downtown, string lights, skyline glowing, everyone drunk on praise and cocktails. I was finally breathing when the keynote started. The host stepped up, grinning, and none of this would have been possible without our incredible creative director, Maureen Ellis. Applause thundered. I froze. She walked up in a flawless navy dress, humble smile ready. "I pushed hard for this project because I believed in the community," she said, "and I'm proud we brought the vision to life." She never said my name. I left before dessert. She caught me near valet, heels in hand. "What's the rush?" "You didn't mention me once." She blinked. "You were in the slideshow. You took credit. That was my work, my design, my pitch." "This is how business works, Carly," she said coldly. "Grow up." I wanted to hit her, not physically, but with something heavier, truth, exposure. Instead, I nodded and walked away. I couldn't quit. My mother's medication cost nearly $7,000 a month, a rare autoimmune disorder, no foundation, no safety net. I was all she had. So I showed up the next day like nothing happened, swallowed the anger, told myself it was temporary, that the work mattered. But something broke that night. I stopped trusting her. After that, patterns emerged. Every project passed through her. Designs returned, altered just enough to claim refinement. Wins were hers. Pushback was mine. Silence became routine. I documented everything. Files, timestamps, emails, screenshots. Not revenge, I told myself. Protection, proof. The archive grew quietly while she collected awards and preached mentorship on podcasts. Then came Caro Hotels, nearly walked. $1 billion client. Their execs flipped through mock-ups unimpressed. "We want something that redefines connection or we're gone." Maureen smiled and handed it to me, under close supervision. I rebuilt everything. Raw materials, light, pause, memory. When we presented, the room went silent. They signed immediately. Press followed. Launch night came. Spotlight hit Maureen. Praise poured. My name appeared once. 5th slide, bottom right. One photo, no caption. That sting, it didn't even surprise me anymore, just burned like a match across an old scar. After the event, I stood outside by the valet loop, arms crossed, watching drunk architects talk about open floor plans like they were war heroes. Peter walked past me with a champagne flute and said, "Congrats, I think." I didn't respond, because that night, standing under fake stars and spotlights, something snapped. But I didn't scream, didn't storm out, didn't break anything. Instead, I drove home, took off my heels, sat at my kitchen table with leftover pad thai, and I made a decision. I wasn't quitting. I wasn't asking for credit. I was going to stay, smile, numb my face if I had to, because Maureen thought she'd broken me, thought I was one more creative she could wring dry and toss aside. But she was wrong. I'd play her game. I'd play it better than anyone ever had. And when it mattered most, I'd flip the whole damn board. A month later, Maureen called me into her office like she was doing me a favor. "Big opportunity," she said, smiling like a snake with a clipboard. "3 high-profile projects just came in, all yours." She slid the folders across her desk, crisp and color-coded. I opened the first one. An art center in Phoenix, deadline 6 weeks. Second, a high-rise in Chicago, 12 weeks, but full redesign. Third, a boutique spa hotel in Asheville. 8 weeks and already behind schedule. I looked up all 3. She leaned back like this was a negotiation. "You've been saying you're ready for more responsibility. Prove it." I knew what this was. A trap. If I pulled it off, she'd claim credit again. If I missed the mark, she'd bury me in unrealistic performance concerns. Succeed and be used up. Fail and be forgotten. I nodded slowly. "All right, I'll handle it." She raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" "Completely." She smiled. "That's what I like to hear." I walked out, closed the door behind me, and whispered, "Game on." From that point forward, I ran 2 parallel universes. In one, I followed her directives to the letter. She wanted bold, rule-pushing, uncompromising. She said things like, "Don't let zoning fear kill vision," and "We'll get permits after we wow them." She made it crystal clear, aesthetic over safety. So that's exactly what I gave her, on paper. In Phoenix, I designed glass corridors that slice through code minimums on exit distance. In Chicago, I ignored balcony spacing and setback laws. In Asheville, I used load-bearing walls that wouldn't pass inspection if a raccoon leaned too hard on them. Every idea she praised, I saved. Every email where she said, "Push the edge," "Don't worry about fire codes yet," or "The city can be dealt with later," all archived. I logged everything. Voice memos, Slack messages, internal PDFs with her initials on the design markups. She practically signed her own confession. Then, behind the scenes, I built alternate versions. Fully compliant, fully safe, same design language, but no violations. They were quieter, less flashy, but real, honest. I kept them off the main server, just in my backup. When Maureen called check-ins, I'd show her the flashy versions. She'd grin like a stage mom at a pageant. "This is exactly the kind of work that elevates us," she said once, flipping through Chicago's renderings. "You finally get it." I smiled back. "Glad you think so." By month 2, the board was buzzing. She started dropping phrases like next-level talent and visionary alignment, but only behind closed doors. Publicly, it was still all her. I didn't care because I wasn't playing for praise anymore. I was playing for proof. Let her stand behind work that couldn't stand up to scrutiny. Let her double down on cutting corners. I wasn't rushing to warn her. I wasn't going to save her from herself, because for once, I wasn't the one being reckless. She was, and she didn't even see it. The fuse was already lit. The first day I felt off. I blamed stress. My throat was dry, my chest tight, but I figured it was from sitting too long at my desk with stale coffee and no sunlight. By day 2, I could barely breathe. Day 3, I was on the floor of my bathroom, coughing so hard I thought my ribs would snap. Fever, chills, whole body aches. I couldn't stand up without my vision going black. I texted Maureen that I was sick. No response. I emailed her later that night. Short and clear. Unable to work, respiratory infection. Will update in 48 hours. Silence. By the 4th day, I couldn't even lift my laptop. My voice was completely gone. I remember laying in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of everything I hadn't finished. Deadlines, approvals, renderings. But I didn't panic. I knew the projects were already loaded with landmines. I just hadn't planned on being out of commission when the first one exploded. The messages from coworkers stopped. No Slack pings, no check-ins, no file requests. At first, I figured people were giving me space. Then I noticed changes in the shared folders, documents I hadn't touched being renamed and reassigned. They were rerouting my work, quietly behind my back. That's when I knew Maureen wasn't waiting for me to recover. She was moving in for the kill. And then came the call. 2:38 a.m. Maureen's voice, cold as a dead engine. "You're being let go, effective immediately." No reason, no apology, no explanation for why someone who had never missed a major deadline in 3 years was suddenly disposable. She wanted it quiet, clean, one more creative burnout who couldn't keep up. But she didn't know how long I'd been waiting for this exact moment. The next morning, still weak, still sweating through my sheets, I propped myself up on one elbow and opened my laptop. I typed 3 emails, just 3. The first went to internal compliance. Subject, urgent code violations. Caro, Phoenix, Asheville. I included notes, diagrams, side-by-sides of the versions she approved, every risk, every override, every direct order from her that compromised safety. The second went to the board. I attached 6 zipped folders, email threads, file logs, screenshots, audio clips from meetings. The subject line was simple: Miss Ellis, pattern of misconduct. The third went to my lawyer. Subject, unlawful termination, retaliation evidence enclosed. We'd talked before. I'd sent her drips of info just in case. Now she had the full picture. I hit send, then dropped the laptop on the floor and passed out again.
For the next 5 days, I drifted in and out of sleep. I didn't check my email, didn't answer my phone. My mom brought soup and medicine, and I couldn't taste any of it. I wasn't anxious. I was done playing defense. If nothing came of it, fine. If they ignored the proof and let her spin it again, fine. I could live with that. But they wouldn't be able to say they didn't know. Then, on day 7, my phone rang. Unknown number, Washington area code. I answered with a rasp. "Carly, this is Preston Wells, board chair. We need to meet urgently." His voice didn't sound angry, it sounded rattled. I sat up in bed and pulled the blanket off. "All right," I said, "let's talk." Preston sent the video link within the hour. "Closed board session," the email said. "Please be ready by 2 p.m. Eastern." I was still pale, still coughing, and still 20 pounds lighter than I should have been, but I pulled my hair back, put on a black sweater that didn't scream bedridden, and logged in 5 minutes early. I kept my camera off until they were all in. Then I clicked it on. The screen filled with faces. 11 board members, 2 senior partners, 1 outside counsel, and Maureen. She froze the second she saw me. "Why is she here?" she asked. Her voice had that same cold edge, but there was a crack under it. Preston cleared his throat. "She's here because she should be." "I terminated her," Maureen snapped. "This is a board-level meeting. She has no right." "You made that call at 2:38 a.m., without HR, without legal, and in violation of 3 contract provisions," he interrupted. "We've reviewed the audio." She blinked. "She recorded me?" "You were on speakerphone." Maureen shifted in her chair, lips tightening like she wanted to scream but didn't know who to aim at first. I didn't say anything, just sat there and watched her squirm. Preston continued. "We've reviewed Miss Whitaker's submissions. Internal compliance corroborated the zoning concerns on all 3 project files. Design inconsistencies line up exactly with the alterations you pushed." "That's ridiculous," Maureen said quickly. "Design is collaborative. It's not unusual for creative leads to interpret directives differently." We also spoke to Carol's executive team. They confirmed Carly led every major meeting and all early-stage ideation. They were unaware of your involvement beyond billing and scheduling. Maureen opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Then Preston shared his screen. He clicked through a slideshow. Timestamps, red lines, exported messages. Every slide had her name on it, every edit tied to a violation. Every suggestion she made tracked straight to risk. Her face went from irritated to confused to completely blank. Then the lawyer spoke. "We also have emails showing patterns of credit misappropriation and retaliation after Miss Whitaker's medical leave. It would be in the firm's best interest to distance itself from any appearance of bad faith leadership." "You're firing me," she said. "You're being asked to resign," Preston said calmly, "effective immediately. If you don't, a formal investigation will begin today." Maureen looked around the room, but no one met her eyes. She stood slowly, lips tight, like she might explode or cry or both. Then she reached forward, clicked out of the meeting, and disappeared. Silence. Preston looked back at me. "Carly, I don't know how you stayed sane through all of that." I smiled weakly. I didn't. A couple of them laughed, just a little, not mockery, just release. "You saved this company from a legal disaster," he continued, "and more than that, you built the creative foundation we've been profiting off for years. That should have been acknowledged sooner." I didn't say anything. I waited. He leaned forward. "We'd like to offer you the creative director position permanently." There it was, the full circle moment, and I felt nothing. Not pride, not satisfaction, just this weird hollow stillness in my chest. I thought I'd want this, but now that it was in front of me, I didn't know. The board members waited, smiling politely like they'd just handed me a trophy. "I appreciate it," I said, my voice calm, "but I'm going to need a little time before I give you my answer." Preston nodded. "Of course, take what you need." I signed off, closed my laptop, and leaned back in the chair. The quiet in my apartment felt different. Not peaceful, just empty. I didn't want her job. I wanted something else entirely, and I finally had room to go after it. I waited 2 days, thought about it, walked the block, took my mom to her doctor's appointment, and didn't tell her a thing. Then I called Preston. He answered on the second ring. "Carly, have you made a decision?" "I don't want Maureen's job," I said, "but I've got an idea." There was a pause. "I'm listening." I laid it out, quick and clear. A new kind of firm, small, lean, project-based. No titles, no hierarchy walls, designers credited openly, pay tied directly to a project's success. You build something great, you get your name on it, and you get a share of what it earns. I said, no more disappearing juniors, no more stolen ideas. People work harder when their work actually belongs to them. Preston exhaled. "That's idealistic." "No," I said, "that's long overdue." He didn't push back, just said, "You want to pitch it to the board?" "Yes." "You've got one shot." I hung up and got to work. I didn't sleep more than 4 hours a night that week. My fever was gone, but I still felt like I'd been hit by a truck. Didn't matter. I poured everything into the presentation. I built slides, pulled data, drafted a 1-year pilot plan, 3 clients, 5 designers, transparent accounting, shared contracts. I interviewed junior staff who'd left quietly over the years, asked what made them quit, what would have made them stay. "I didn't need a plaque," one said. "I just wanted to hear my name said out loud." That hit harder than I expected. I gathered proof from outside firms already experimenting with shared credit, showed how their retention rates had doubled, how clients actually like knowing who worked on what. I even mocked up branding, clean, modern, sharp. The night before the pitch, I sat at my kitchen table, ran the deck one more time, then closed my laptop and just stared at nothing. If this didn't land, I'd walk. Not in shame, not in defeat, just with the peace of knowing I'd said what needed to be said. Next day, I logged into the board meeting 5 minutes early again. Same faces, a little less guarded this time. Preston nodded. "All right, Carly, show us." I shared my screen and walked them through it all step by step. Problem, arrow, solution, arrow, plan. "Architectural firms survive on reputation," I said, "but the people behind the work are invisible. This model flips that. It says, we see you and we value what you make." I paused at the last slide. No more erasing people. No more writing on someone else's name. We lead with transparency or we keep bleeding talent. Silence. A few raised brows, a couple nods. Preston looked thoughtful. "You're asking us to fund something that makes us less hierarchical, less centralized, and less profitable, at least up front. I'm asking you to invest in something that'll outlast us," I said. He tapped a pen against his notepad. "You really think designers will stick around just for a little credit and a slightly bigger paycheck?" "No," I said. "They'll stay because it's theirs." He didn't respond right away, just looked down, then up again. "We'll have your answer next week." I signed off and sat back. Win or lose, I'd finally offered something real. The board voted 5 days later. Preston called me right after. 7 to 5, he said. "You've got your pilot." I just nodded, even though he couldn't see me. 3 clients, full autonomy, 9 months to prove the model worked. I had no office, no org chart, no safety net, just a green light and a fire in my chest. First thing I did was reach out to the people no one wanted anymore. Designers who'd been ghosted after big projects, interns who quit when their ideas got recycled without credit. One guy who'd been quietly pushed out after me slapped her name on a campaign he bled over. They all said the same thing. "I'm in, just tell me when." We worked remote, spread across 4 states, used Slack, shared drives, early morning calls. Nobody cared about titles or power. We just cared about doing the work and finally owning it. Our first client was a woman named Jenna from a mid-sized tech company in Denver. She came into the intro call cautious, arms crossed, even over Zoom. "We're hiring you because we like the idea," she said, "but it's a tiny space, low budget. You're not going to get to make magic." "That's fine," I said. "Just let us show you what this can be." The project was a startup co-working annex, 500 square feet, half-finished walls, weird lighting. I passed it to Margot, a designer who'd been laid off 3 times in 4 years. She sketched something brilliant by the second day. We shared it in a live session with Jenna, walked her through every line, and when Jenna asked who designed the layout, I said, Margot, all hers. Margot's face lit up on camera like someone had flipped a switch behind her eyes. Jenna just nodded. Okay, I get it now. The build came in 15% under budget, 2 weeks early. Press picked it up because Jenna talked a lot. She told everyone how the project ran smoother, cheaper, and faster because the same people who designed it stayed through execution. There were no handoffs, no ego wars, no guessing games. Then came the emails. Small firms, nonprofits, even 2 big-name clients asking if we could take overflow work. Within 3 months, we went from 3 projects to 11. Designers started reaching out to us, not asking for jobs, asking how to build their own versions. We sent them everything, the docs, the templates, the payment structures, no gatekeeping. I didn't want to build an empire. I wanted to break a cycle. And the more we grew, the clearer it got. This wasn't just some creative rebellion. It worked. Clients liked knowing who was behind the work. Designers felt like they mattered again. I remember sitting on my apartment floor one night, eating microwave popcorn and reviewing a feedback survey from a client who wrote, "This is the first time I felt like the architect actually listened." That's when it hit me. We weren't just producing buildings, we were rebuilding trust. And for the first time in my career, I didn't feel invisible. I felt seen. By the 1-year mark, we weren't just a pilot anymore. We were setting the damn standard. Other firms started copying the model, or trying to. Most of them failed. Then I heard Maureen had launched her own collaborative studio. She slapped together a glossy website, listed fake project leads, tried to woo young designers with big promises and no follow-through. I knew the playbook. Hell, she wrote it. It flopped in 6 months. Clients bailed. Word spread. And then she called me. She didn't even pretend it was about anything else. I've been thinking we could work together again. Combine what you've built with my reach, a real partnership. I let her finish, then said one word. No. Silence. She tried again. I'm willing to give you full design autonomy. We'd be equals. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see it. Start over, Maureen. Build something real. Or don't, but leave me out of it. I hung up before she could respond. Months later, I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address. It was short, just a few lines. I opened a 2-person shop in a warehouse near Spokane. No titles, full credit. Learning to listen again. Thank you. I read it twice, then folded it up and slid it into my desk drawer. Not out of pride, not to gloat, just to remind myself it worked. Real change is possible. Not easy, not fast, but real. She tried to burn me out, erase me, break me. Instead, she ended up rebuilding herself and me. I finally got what I came for. Not applause, not power, proof. The best revenge isn't beating someone, it's making what they did impossible to repeat.